Hey, it's Bran. This year is Kill la Kill's 10-year anniversary. I'm pretty excited because I have an excuse to sculpt Satsuki's massive eyebrows. I'm still working on my workflow for creating anime-style characters, and this breakdown will show you how I'm doing it at the moment. References for Kill la Kill characters are readily available for almost all characters. I found a huge collection of refs on an Imager page. I only had to make a few minor edits to get this Satsuki reference how I wanted it in a symmetrical pose. Starting off with the head, I began extruding a single vert around both the portrait and profile view of the face to get an outline. Vert count doesn't matter for these views yet. We mainly want these to serve as our boundaries. We can add or dissolve verts later on as we connect things together. Next, I extruded a vert around to make the eye. Then I pulled the nose and the mouth from the center line of verts. Now that I have my three key landmarks, I can start bridging these features together with each other and the outline of the face. To finish off the head, I added in a sphere and a cylinder to act as a snapping guide for the head and the neck. I extruded from the face and wrapped it around the sphere and down the cylinder with snapping on. Once I was finished with the head topology, I averaged out the spacing of the geometry by using the slide relax brush while holding shift in sculpt mode. It's kind of hard to tell how things are looking with just this base head, so I add in the eyes, eyelashes, and brows. I'm not using a sphere for the eye, instead I'm using a plane for the pupil, and it's just going to float in front of the eye cavity. The material I'm using doesn't cast shadows or react to light, so it gives the illusion that the eye cavity is actually just a solid eye. And this material is just an emission, or you could use a diffuse. I also wanted to go ahead and see how this looks with line art, so I used the inverted hull method to get some lines. To make her hair, I took a UV sphere and placed it on her head, then deleted the front and bottom faces. I split some of the edges in the front to create her bangs, then I extruded the bottom loop way down and added some loop cuts. Now that I have the main features of the head finished, I went into sculpt mode and tweaked the face shape with the grab brush. It was around this time I decided to ditch the inverted hull outlines. My biggest problem with them is that I have to set up the solidify for each and every object that I want an outline on. I'm a lazy guy and I like things to happen automatically, so I decided to switch over to the grease pencil outlines. It's pretty easy to apply. Just Shift A and choose grease pencil line art. You'll see the grease pencil object show up in your outliner. If you select it and go to your modifiers panel, you can set what collection gets outlines, the thickness, and the edge types that create the lines. This method uses the camera to read the edges and places the lines on them. My left viewport is set to lock camera to view, so whatever angle I'm viewing it from, I'll see the results of the line art. You can see on my right viewport that is not being viewed from the camera how the line art is projected. To keep from seeing this mess, I turn off the grease pencil visibility under the view object types drop down in my right viewport. Okay, so next I unwrap the head to texture paint in the shadows. You can have custom normals to get an anime style shading. 2AM has a really good video on editing normals. The only problem is that if you plan on doing any facial animations, be it with bones or shape keys, the shadows can fall apart. And if I'm remembering correctly, subdivision surface modifiers are a big no-no. You have to apply them or just model without it. You also have to have your topology set up in a pretty specific way to support the shadow shape you'd want to get with the custom normal. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So I just like to hand paint the shadows on the face. And from the neck down, use a toon shader. And a lot of games usually does it this way, unless your Arc System works and have a super specific setup just for shadows. I modeled the ear and slid it to the side of the head. I don't plan on joining it to the rest of the head since it doesn't deform and moves with the head, and the shader will make it blend in seamlessly. After the head is completely finished, I start blocking out the body with subdivided cubes, matching the shapes up with the reference and mirroring where I can. I'm not that great at sculpting feet, so I modeled her heels instead. Now that the block out is finished, I joined the subdivided cubes together, remeshed, and start smoothing out the connections in sculpt mode. I also added the toon shader to the body so that I can see how the shadows are casting while I'm sculpting. I was nearing the end of the first day working on this, so I decided to model a few pouches to make her nudist beach outfit. It's not the model's final outfit, just for fun, so she'll be wearing something when I share my whip shots on socials. So the next day, I pick up on the sculpting again. I left the arms and hands separate from the body so I can easily sculpt around the armpit area. I sculpted some butt too. Next, I get into some retopology. I joined the arms to the body, jumped back into the head model, and shrink wrapped it to the body sculpt. I made a vertex group for the head and excluded it from the shrink wrap so that the head wouldn't collapse into the neck. From here on, it's basic retopo stuff. We want certain loops to run along and support certain shapes. Anything in between these support sections are pretty well just grids. The only thing after that is how these different sections connect to everything else. I made her clothes by duplicating a section of the base mesh and adding a solidify modifier to give it thickness, editing around the bottom to make it look more like a shirt. I didn't extract any geometry for her bottoms, just changed the material to match the top and extracted a bit of geometry to make her heels. I also used curves for some temporary line details so that I can visualize what it's going to look like. I remove these later and draw them in with the texture. I usually use Rigify to rig models for posing, but this time I tried out Auto Rig Pro. All I had to do was place reference dots on the model to generate a reference armature, then use it to generate the rig. The auto weighting seemed alright, though I had to fix some of the weights on the hand. I also tried adding in some extra bones to have some hair controllers. After rigging, I did some testing to see how things were deforming. I'm not that great when it comes to rigging. I couldn't get her hair to deform quite the way that I wanted it to. I do plan on taking a rigging course this winter though, so hopefully I'll get better at it. Anywho, after I got her into her final pose, I brought in a background and started rendering, and this is how it came out.
Don't lose your way.
You can get this model on my Gumroad for free. Make your own renders, repose it, modify it, do whatever you want, I don't care. In order to use the rig, you'll have to download Auto Rig Pro's rig tools if you don't have Auto Rig Pro installed. It's a free add-on that lets you pose characters that were rigged with Auto Rig Pro. I wasn't the only one who did some Kill la Kill fan art this month. Our Discord community also joined in, making some awesome 2D and 3D art. You know, it's been a year since I put together the Zelda character sculpt tutorial, and over the past year I've been able to see what common problems people are having while trying to follow it. I've been trying to tighten up my workflow with the last few anime style sculpts in preparation for the next tutorial series. It'll be the same type of follow-along videos where we create a character from start to finish together. Last time I noticed that some were having some problems sculpting the head, and I think this time around we'll be able to make something a little easier for everyone to reproduce and learn from. Anyways, expect a new tutorial series in the coming month or two, and anything that I mentioned in the video, any links or anything like that, should be in the description below, like the Gumroad download, the Auto Rig Pro rig tools. I think I mentioned the references and stuff like that. I'll put all the links down there and below. But anyways, expect a new tutorial series in the coming month or two. Alright, bye.